Tay sat on the small balcony of his Lagos apartment, staring at the crowded streets below, lost in thought. Ever since he was a boy, he had dreamed of building something meaningful, a tech company that could solve real problems for people. He spent nights coding on his old laptop, sketching app ideas in a worn notebook, imagining a future where his name would be known for innovation, not just struggle. But at home, things were different. Amaka, his girlfriend, never missed a chance to remind him of what he lacked. She compared him to wealthier men, pointing out their flashy cars, designer clothes, and expensive dinners. "Tay, you'll never be enough for me," she said once, her words sharp and final, leaving a sting he couldn't shake. Despite her constant criticism, Tay never argued. He loved her more than he loved his own comfort, more than he loved the idea of giving up. Every harsh word, every laugh at his humble lifestyle, he tucked away, using it as fuel to prove not to her, but to himself, that he was capable of more. He knew his potential, even if she couldn't see it. While she went out with friends and admired the men who fit her idea of success, Tay stayed late into the night in his tiny home office, typing code, learning new skills, and dreaming bigger. He remembered the nights when Amaka's disappointment weighed heavy on his heart, yet he smiled through the pain, imagining a day when she might regret underestimating him. Every critique became a challenge, every comparison a reminder that he had to rise. He didn't need her validation to know his worth, but a part of him hoped that one day, she would look at him and see not the man he was, but the man he was becoming. Tay's love for Amaka was quiet and patient, like a fire burning steadily under rain, never extinguished, only growing stronger with time. While the world saw him as ordinary, a boy without enough money or status, Tay carried within him extraordinary belief that true success wasn't in the riches he didn't yet have, but in the dreams he refused to abandon. And in that small apartment, amidst the noise of Lagos, the boy she couldn't see was already preparing to become the man she would one day wish she never let go. Tay didn't see it coming, though deep down he had felt the distance growing between them. That evening, Amaka sat across from him at their favorite cafe, her expression cold and final. "Tay, I can't do this anymore," she said, her words cutting sharper than any knife. "I need someone who can give me the life I deserve, someone who's enough." He tried to speak, tried to explain that his dreams were bigger than they seemed, but she shook her head and laughed softly, almost mockingly. "Your ideas are cute, Tay, but they're too small. Unrealistic. You're never going to make it the way I want to live." Her words crushed him in a way nothing else ever had. Tay felt a heavy ache settle in his chest, a mix of heartbreak, disbelief, and frustration. He had loved her with everything he had believed that patience and persistence could make her see him differently. But now, she was walking away, leaving him behind like a shadow of someone she never truly understood. He wanted to yell, to argue, to tell her that she was wrong, but he didn't. Instead, he swallowed the pain, forced a small, polite smile, and let her go. Later that night, Tay sat alone in his dimly lit apartment, the city lights of Lagos flickering through the window. His heart was heavy, but his mind was still alive with ideas and dreams that no breakup could erase. He opened his notebook, the pages filled with sketches, plans, and visions for his future, and he wrote a single line. "One day, my worth will be undeniable, not for her, but for me." The words felt like a promise, a shield against despair, and a spark that refused to be extinguished. He stared at the page for a long time, letting the sadness flow through him, but underneath it, a quiet determination was growing. The pain of rejection became fuel, a reminder that he had to work harder, aim higher, and never rely on anyone else to define his value. That night, Tay understood something important. Love could hurt, but dreams, perseverance, and self-belief were eternal. While Amaka thought she had left him broken, she had unknowingly lit a fire that would one day make him unstoppable. A fire that would turn heartbreak into a powerful force for change, for success, and for the life he was destined to create. Tay's days became a blur of coding, meetings, and endless problem-solving. His small Lagos apartment transformed into a makeshift office, with an old desk cluttered with notebooks, cables, and a worn laptop that had seen better days. Every morning, he woke before the city stirred, fueled by determination and a restless energy that refused to let heartbreak define him. He spent hours writing code, testing apps, and brainstorming solutions to problems he noticed around him, from small business delivery challenges to inefficient payment systems. Every idea, no matter how small, became a building block for the future he was determined to create. But the path was far from easy. Investors laughed at him, saying his concepts were too risky or impractical for someone with no money. Friends and peers who once called him ambitious now called him a dreamer, someone wasting his life chasing impossible goals. "Tay, why do you even bother?" they'd say, shaking their heads. Each rejection cut, but Tay learned to turn it into fuel. He reminded himself that no one else could measure his worth or define his success. Meals became minimal. Instant noodles or bread were common, and sleep was a luxury he rarely allowed himself. Days and nights blurred together, but he kept working, believing that consistency, not luck, would eventually pay off. Every small victory, like debugging a stubborn code or finishing a prototype, felt like a triumph and a step closer to proving himself. His neighbors probably thought he was insane, locked away, typing endlessly in a cramped room, but Tay didn't care. Despite exhaustion, loneliness, and mounting pressure, he never let his vision falter. He studied trends, learned new programming languages, and networked tirelessly, meeting anyone who might believe in his potential. Each no became motivation. Each mocking remark a reminder that he had to work harder. He imagined the day when people would see the results of his effort, when the boy they mocked would rise above doubt and judgment. Tay's struggle was silent but fierce, a mix of sacrifice, relentless focus, and unshakable belief in himself. While others saw only hardship, he saw opportunity, the raw material from which success would be forged. Every sleepless night, every skipped meal, every rejection was a thread weaving the story of a man who refused to settle, who refused to quit, and who was quietly building a future that no one could take away. Not even the girlfriend who once said he'd never be enough. After months of tireless work, Tay finally launched his first tech app, a delivery service designed to help small businesses move their products faster and more efficiently across Lagos. It was simple, practical, and tailored for people who had struggled with unreliable couriers or high delivery costs. On launch day, he nervously refreshed the download statistics, hoping someone would notice, but the numbers were small. Only a handful of businesses signed up initially, and the app seemed invisible in the crowded tech market. It was discouraging, but Tay didn't panic. He knew that building something meaningful took time and patience. Slowly, word of mouth began to spread. A small bakery praised his app for getting their pastries delivered on time. A clothing boutique recommended it to friends, and a few other small businesses signed up after seeing the efficiency firsthand. Every positive review and recommendation felt like fuel, a small victory proving that his hard work wasn't wasted. Tay responded personally to every message, learning from users and tweaking the app to make it better. His dedication didn't go unnoticed. Clients began trusting him, and loyalty started to form around the service he had built from scratch. Then came a turning point. A local Lagos newspaper ran a feature about his innovative delivery solution, calling him Lagos' rising tech mind, and highlighting his determination and perseverance. The article praised how he had turned heartbreak, rejection, and struggle into action, giving real solutions to real problems. Suddenly, Tay's story reached a wider audience. People began sharing the article on social media, praising his vision and resilience. The small app that had barely registered a blip in the tech world was now gaining attention from curious users, potential investors, and industry enthusiasts. For the first time, Tay could feel the fruits of his effort. It wasn't fame or wealth yet, but it was recognition, validation for the long hours, sleepless nights, and sacrifices he had made. Seeing his ideas impact real businesses gave him a confidence he had never felt before. The boy who was once told he'd never be enough was slowly proving himself, step by step, to a world that had doubted him. He knew this was only the beginning, but that first taste of success gave him a vision of the future. A future where hard work, belief, and perseverance could turn dreams into reality. Tay smiled to himself, knowing that this small win was the foundation for something much bigger. Tay's life began to change the moment he secured his first serious investors. With their support, he officially registered his company as Swift Tech Solutions, and moved from his tiny apartment to a small office in the heart of Lagos. The feeling of walking into a space that was entirely his, filled with computers, whiteboards, and buzzing energy, was surreal. Every detail reminded him of the long nights, skipped meals, and endless sacrifices that had brought him here. Now he wasn't just a dreamer. He was a young entrepreneur with a real business, a real team, and real potential. One of the most satisfying moments was hiring young talent to help him grow SwiftTech. Among them were people who had once mocked him in school or laughed at his ambition, calling him a dreamer with no money. Now those same people were working under his leadership, inspired by the vision he had carried silently for years. Tay treated every team member with respect and encouragement, fostering creativity and innovation, believing that a strong team could make an idea unstoppable. He saw raw potential in young minds, just as he had once been underestimated, and made it his mission to nurture it. SwiftTech solutions soon started gaining traction. Local tech magazines and online news outlets featured him as a visionary young entrepreneur, telling the story of how a boy from Lagos, dismissed and doubted, had turned his ideas into a tangible business. His journey of struggle, heartbreak, and relentless perseverance resonated with many. People across social media began sharing his story, praising not just his success but the dedication behind it. Tay's story became a symbol of what hard work, patience, and self-belief could achieve, inspiring countless young Nigerians to pursue their dreams despite setbacks. As recognition grew, Tay remained grounded. He remembered the long nights in his small apartment, the moments when investors laughed at his proposals, and the harsh words of people who didn't see his potential. Those memories fueled his humility and gratitude, pushing him to work harder, innovate more, and create opportunities for others. SwiftTech Solutions was no longer just his dream. It was a platform for change, growth, and inspiration. Tay's rise was a reminder that success isn't just about money or fame. It's about perseverance, vision, and the courage to keep going when the world doubts you. The boy who was once overlooked was now recognized, respected, and celebrated, proving that consistent effort and belief in oneself could turn the impossible into reality. Tay never imagined that one small talk could change everything. A local youth center had invited him to speak about his journey, from heartbreak and struggle to building SwiftTech solutions. Standing in front of a modest crowd, he shared his story with honesty, vulnerability, and passion. He spoke about nights spent coding while the city slept, the pain of rejection, and the importance of believing in yourself when no one else does. His words were simple but powerful. Your worth isn't defined by who leaves, but by who stays true to their dreams. Someone in the audience recorded his talk and uploaded it online. Within hours, the video began spreading like wildfire. People resonated with Tay's message. Thousands commented, shared, and tagged friends, saying how his determination gave them hope to chase their own dreams. Quotes from his speech began trending on social media, inspiring young Nigerians from Lagos to Abuja, all sharing snippets of his story and praising his courage. The boy who had once been underestimated was now becoming a symbol of perseverance and resilience. Among those who saw the video was Amaka. She had been scrolling through her feed when a friend's post caught her attention. A clip of Tay speaking, calm, confident, and passionate. She paused, surprised at the man she barely recognized. His words, his energy, his success, it was all undeniable. For the first time, she realized she had underestimated him, dismissed his potential, and walked away too soon. She watched in silence as thousands celebrated the boy she had once told he'd never be enough. Curiosity and regret mingled in her thoughts. She began following his journey online, checking updates, reading articles, and watching videos of his achievements. She saw his company grow, his team expand, and his influence spread. Each new post was a reminder of what she had lost and how her words had failed to reflect his true worth. Tay, however, remained unaware of her attention. He continued speaking, mentoring, and inspiring, focused on building his vision and helping others achieve theirs. The viral moment wasn't about proving Amaka wrong. It was about proving to himself and to the world that dreams nurtured with patience and persistence could break barriers, touch lives, and leave an undeniable mark. Weeks after his talk went viral, Tay received a message that made him pause. It was from Amaka. Simple, casual, almost innocent. Hey Tay, it's been a while. Would love to catch up if you're free. For a moment, old memories flashed, the laughter, the dreams they once shared, and the pain of her words that had once cut so deep. He read the message twice, then set his phone down. He didn't feel anger, just a quiet curiosity and a calm sense that the universe had a strange way of balancing things. They agreed to meet at a cafe in Victoria Island, somewhere neutral. When Tay arrived, he saw her waiting, dressed smartly, her demeanor polite but slightly nervous. Amaka smiled, but it wasn't the playful, dismissive smile of the past. There was hesitation, even admiration behind it. She asked casual questions at first, about his life, his routines, almost like she was testing the waters. Tay answered with measured calm, noticing how different the energy between them was now. Soon, the conversation shifted to Swift Tech Solutions. Amaka's voice carried genuine curiosity, tinged with regret, as she asked about the app, the company's growth, and the people he had hired. "I saw the article about your company. You've really built something impressive," she said, unable to hide the admiration in her tone. Tay listened, a small smile forming, polite but distant. He remembered the nights she had doubted him, the harsh words about his small dreams, and the heartbreak he had carried silently. As she spoke, it became clear that she now saw him as everything she once wanted but had walked away from. Successful, confident, respected, and admired. There was an irony in the moment that wasn't lost on Tay. He could feel the shift in power, the reversal of roles, yet he didn't gloat or show bitterness. Instead, he gave her polite attention, listening and responding with kindness, a quiet dignity that spoke louder than any words could. By the end of the meeting, Tay walked away with a calm satisfaction. He had achieved more than she had ever imagined, and her admiration and regret only underscored the distance between the boy she dismissed and the man he had become. In that ironic reunion, Tay didn't need her approval. He had already proven to the world, and more importantly to himself, that he was everything he had always believed he could be. Amaka couldn't stay away. She started liking his posts, leaving comments filled with subtle admiration, and tagging herself in pictures from his public events. Every post about Swift Tech Solutions, every award or recognition, seemed to draw her back like a magnet. Friends noticed her sudden interest, whispering that she was trying to reconnect, but Tay remained calm. He saw the attempts for what they were, a mix of curiosity, regret, and the desire to be part of something she had once dismissed. Tay met her at one of his company's tech expos. She smiled, trying to act casual, asking questions about the projects and the people involved. He responded politely, answering her questions with courtesy and sharing insights, but he didn't give her special attention or let her past or her current admiration dictate his actions. There was no jealousy, no bitterness, only a quiet, confident dignity. People around him noticed his composure, the way he handled her presence with grace, focused on the work and the young talents around him rather than the woman who had once doubted him. Meanwhile, Tay's life was flourishing in ways he had dreamed of during those long, sleepless nights. Swift Tech Solutions had grown, with employees who respected him and clients who trusted him. Media outlets featured him regularly, praising his innovative ideas and leadership. Mentoring programs invited him to speak, and young entrepreneurs looked up to him as a source of inspiration. Every day brought a new achievement, a new validation that his dedication had paid off, not for anyone else, but for himself. Amaka's regret was visible in her eyes, and in the hesitant way she approached him. Realizing she had misjudged his worth, she watched as people treated him with respect, admiration, and genuine affection, a world she could not control or reclaim. But for Tay, it no longer mattered. Her opinion, her presence, or her past criticisms could not define him. He had built a life full of respect, success, and meaningful connections, and that was enough. In this poetic twist of fate, Tay's triumph wasn't about revenge. It was about life rewarding those who stay true to their vision and themselves. Amaka had underestimated him once, but now, her subtle attempts to return only highlighted the power of his self-belief and perseverance. The boy she once dismissed was now a man who needed no one's approval to shine, and that truth carried its own quiet, undeniable justice. Tay stood on the stage of a brightly lit auditorium, the buzz of excitement palpable in the air. Today, he was hosting a tech event for young entrepreneurs, a dream he had nurtured silently during the long nights of struggle. The room was filled with aspiring innovators, students, and small business owners, all eager to hear from the young man who had turned heartbreak into success. As he spoke about the challenges of starting from nothing, coding through sleepless nights, and believing in himself when no one else did, the audience hung on every word, taking notes, snapping photos, and sharing clips on social media. The media was there too. Journalists from top tech magazines and online news platforms recorded his talk, eager to capture the journey from a boy doubted and dismissed to a man whose vision had inspired thousands. Headlines later read, "From heartbreak to triumph, Tay's rise as Lagos tech visionary and young entrepreneur shows what persistence can achieve." His story of struggle, determination, and eventual victory became a source of motivation not just for young Nigerians, but for anyone chasing a dream despite obstacles. Among the crowd was Amaka. She had come, curious and drawn to see the man she had once told he'd never be enough. As she watched him speak confidently, passionately, and with undeniable presence, a mix of regret and awe washed over her. She saw the respect he commanded from the audience, the admiration in the eyes of the young entrepreneurs, and the genuine impact he was making. The boy she had once dismissed was now someone whose achievements spoke louder than any words could. Tay noticed the attention in the room, but didn't focus on her. He was too busy sharing insights, mentoring, and encouraging the next generation. Every question he answered, every piece of advice he offered, reinforced his credibility and influence. This was his element, a space where his value wasn't measured by who had loved or doubted him, but by the knowledge, inspiration, and opportunities he was creating for others. By the end of the event, applause filled the auditorium, and Tay stepped off the stage, calm and fulfilled. He had come full circle, from the boy underestimated and heartbroken, to a respected public figure shaping the future. Amaka's regret was silent but visible, a quiet acknowledgement that she had lost someone extraordinary. Meanwhile, Tay walked on, proof that victory is built on perseverance, self-belief, and the courage to rise, no matter who left or doubted you. Tay sat alone in his office, the city of Lagos sprawling beneath him in a sea of lights and movement. The hum of traffic, the glow of street lamps, and the distant chatter of the city created a quiet backdrop for a moment of reflection. He leaned back in his chair, looking at the skyline, thinking about the journey that had brought him here. The heartbreak, the long nights coding, the endless struggle, and the victories that followed. It had all led to this moment, a life built on perseverance, passion, and self-belief. He thought about Amaka, about the words she had once spoken that cut so deep. "You'll never be enough," she had said. At the time, those words had hurt, but they had also sparked something inside him, a determination to prove, not to her, but to himself, that his value could not be measured by someone else's judgment. He had poured his heart and soul into Swift Tech Solutions, turning challenges into opportunities and dreams into reality. And now, looking out over the city he loved, he realized that he had become everything he had ever imagined, not for validation, but because he had stayed true to his vision. The office was quiet except for the soft click of his laptop and the faint hum of the air conditioner. He reflected on the people who had supported him along the way, his loyal team, the young entrepreneurs he had mentored, and the countless individuals who had been inspired by his journey. Their respect and trust meant more than any approval he had once sought from someone who didn't believe in him. He understood now that true worth comes from persistence, integrity, and the courage to keep moving forward, even when the world doubts you. Tay smiled, a mix of satisfaction and calm pride washing over him. He whispered to himself, almost like a vow to the boy he once was. "She said I'd never be enough. I became everything, not for her, but for the boy she couldn't see." The words hung in the air, a quiet celebration of resilience and self-belief. The camera slowly pans out, capturing the vibrant Lagos skyline as the final words appear on screen. "Your worth isn't defined by who leaves, it's built by who stays true to their dreams." Tay's journey, from heartbreak to triumph, stands as a lasting reminder that success and value are created through faith in oneself, unwavering effort, and the courage to follow your dreams, no matter the obstacles.